Let's rock.
Yo, everybody. Welcome to Murder Church. We are live. I need to get my chat. Make sure my chat's good, first of all. Hopefully it is. Boom. When was the last time I used this? Sunday night. So yeah, hold on. I gotta get this chat going. Welcome in here, everybody, to Murder Church. We're gonna do another Phil Spector deal here tonight. What's up? Carrie and Pokemon, thanks for coming in here. I'm trying to fix this chat just super quick. See if that works. Hopefully so. There we go. Yeah, it's working. Sweet. Yeah, we're going to do another Phil Spector episode here tonight. We're on episode 77 here, and we're on part 3 of Dr. Michael Baden's testimony. We've got an hour 15 before we go into the book club immediately after this. But yeah, let's jump in here and see what's up as we slowly get to the end of this trial.
All right, back on the record, the parties, jurors, and alternates are present as heretofore. Dr. Baden, if you take the stand, please. You may proceed.
Dr. Baden, good afternoon. I wanted to continue talking about the hand of Ms. Clarkson. And at the autopsy, did you observe the hands of Ms. Clarkson as part of your review or looking at the external portions of her body?
Yes.
Okay, and was at the point in time you did that, had the body already been cleaned in preparation for the autopsy procedure?
Yes, that is, the body had been undressed the evening before, about 9 o'clock at night, when it arrived at the medical examiner's office from the scene of death. And various criminalistic materials had been removed from fingernail scrapings from her right thumbnail, and the body had been washed. So when I saw the body, had already been unclothed and washed.
Okay, and at that time, did you know anything about the results of the examination of the fingernail scrapings or anything of that nature?
No, except that there was some kind of injury to the thumb.
Okay.
And that was the reason they removed the thumbnail.
Ultimately, did you learn what that was?
Ultimately, yes.
Okay, what did you learn that was at a later time?
That there had been a chip of the acrylic covering of the nail.
Okay, if we could have E8 put up, Defendant's Exhibit E to the 8. If you look at this particular photograph, do you recognize this, doctor, as being a photograph of Lana Clarkson's hand at the scene where there's a defect in the nail?
Yes.
And did you later learn after the autopsy that the reason that they removed the entire nail was because of this defect that you see in this exhibit?
Yes.
And did you find that this was significant to your evaluation of this particular case?
Yes.
And what was the significance of that, if you could tell the members of the jury?
The significance to me of that injury to the thumbnail was that I had seen thumb injuries and thumbnail injuries previously in persons who have fired a weapon using a thumb because of its impacting against the trigger guard.
Okay.
Going into thinking that while the gun's in her face from Spector, she's reached out and done it herself with her thumbs. That's why there's a chipped nail.
So you learned about that at the autopsy, but you weren't able to see the photographs of the way it looked before till later. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I want to go over that a little bit, Dr. Baden. We've talked about what you've done at the autopsy, and I take it that after that got done, you got more materials relating to the case, and you looked at the slides and then things of that nature. Is that correct?
And some later, yes.
Okay, and who did you get those from?
I got the materials largely from Mrs. Abramson, Leslie Abramson,
Okay,
who became the lawyer for Mr. Spector.
Okay, initially you were retained by Mr. Shapiro, but then did Ms. Abramson then take over the case at some point in time later?
Yes.
Approximately when was that?
I think about a year later.
Okay,
something
so
like that.
She sent you case materials. Did that include the photographs of the autopsy and the scene and things of that nature?
Yes.
Okay, did it include the Dr. Pena's formal report once that was issued?
I believe so, that it also included the autopsy report, yes.
Investigative reports from the Sheriff's Department and laboratory reports from the Sheriff's Department Crime Laboratory?
Yes.
Okay, a lot of materials relating to all aspects of the case, is that true?
Yes.
Okay, and what did you do once you got all of those materials that Ms. Abramson sent you?
Yeah, I reviewed materials and discussed the matter with Ms. Abramson.
Okay, let's talk about your review of those materials. Did you, once you reviewed all of those materials that Ms. Abramson had sent you, photographs, reports, etc., did you come to some opinion or understanding, at least in your view, as to what may have happened in this particular case?
Yes.
Okay, what was your opinion, Dr. Bodden?
My opinion was that Juana Clarkson had died of an intraoral gunshot wound, and that it was a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
And what do you base that opinion on? If you could just give us a brief explanation, if you can explain to the jury what facts, what circumstances led you to come to that conclusion.
Largely, the placement of the injury. The injury in the mouth is almost always self-inflicted, in my experience, and the injury to the thumb, to the acrylic on the thumbnail, is consistent with other injuries to thumbs that I have seen in persons who use a thumb to to discharge a weapon. Those are the main points. I think subsequent criminalistic points of more gunshot residues on the hands of Miss Clarkson added to was consistent with her discharging the weapon. Certain blood stains, bloody material on her hands and jacket, some tissue on the jacket, also indicated that it was self-inflicted.
Okay. Dr. Bodden, when you come to an opinion as to whether a death is a self-inflicted wound or not, do you ever consider the state of mind of the decedent?
Yes, yes.
And why do you do that? What's the reason for going there under these circumstances?
Well, an issue, if there's a indication that a wound is that a death is self-inflicted, then the next step is to determine if it was intentionally self-inflicted or not. If it's self-inflicted and intentional, then that would be called suicide. Mm-hmm. If it's self-inflicted but not necessarily intentioned, that could be either an accident or undetermined.
Mm-hmm. When you seek to try to understand what a person's state of mind is, what types of materials or information does a medical examiner look to answer those questions?
Yeah, he's in the middle of his testimony right now.
Looks to
saying they're talking about the chipped nail on Lana Clarkson, which he's going down the path of saying essentially because if he's got the gun in her face and she's reaching out to do it herself, right, to pull the trigger is what they're saying, and she's chipped a nail while killing herself.
Largely history of depression. to any statements made in orally or in writing that might indicate a person intends to kill herself. And those are the essential signs we look for to see whether or not we can conclude that the state of mind was such that a person intentionally tried to kill himself. In addition to which, we will look at the cause of death, the mechanism of death, as to whether or not a person had to have intended to kill oneself by the way in which the injury occurred. For example, climbing over chairs and obstacles to fall out of a window. Somebody falling out of a window could be accident, suicide, or homicide. An investigation would go to see, did anybody push her out? Was there a struggle? Could she have been washing the windows, accidental? Or did she have to crawl over objects to get there, which would make it intentional or suicide? With pills, suicide lodge, a common way of committing suicide is overdose of pills. Would depend on how many pills a person took. If a person took 30 or 40 pills, sleeping pills, to die, at the time she died, that would be a sign of intent. That is, you can't accidentally take 30 sleeping pills. So the manner in which the death occurs is important, and the surrounding information as to depression, whether having seen a physician or a psychologist for depression, and all has to be taken into account.
Okay.
In evaluating whether it's suicide or not.
Okay. How does depression relate to a situation where somebody dies of a self-inflicted gunshot wound? In other words, what's the connection, if any?
The connection is that in the great majority of cases of people who commit suicide, they have had evidence of depression in their past. And often they've seen doctors or psychologists for the depression, and it is a common association. Now, the great majority of people who are depressed don't commit suicide, but it's a very high risk factor in people who kill themselves, and it would be an indication of intent.
Is there any way to know what was in Lana Clarkson's mind when the trigger was pulled?
After I've reviewed all of the information that I have, and all of the past medical records, toxicology, all, I don't think I could come to a definite conclusion as to whether she intentionally shot herself or not. Often people will...
Objection. Question. I agree. Sustain.
Is there any question in your mind, Dr. Biden, that she did shoot herself, whether it was intentional or not?
No, there's no question that she, her hand was on the gun and pressed the trigger at the time of, that caused her death.
And you mentioned in some of your testimony this morning that
now he's awake. Now Phil Spector decides to wake up a little bit. Like, hey, this motherfucker spitting right now. He's out here spitting facts.
Investigated, been involved in going to scenes where people have died of self-inflicted wounds, and some of them being in the mouth. Is the manner in which the gun was held, is that significant as to your conclusion in this case, the fact that it could be held in the manner which would cause her death with this type of injury?
Well, the fact that the gun is straight in the mouth and slightly upward is typical. The fact that there's no evidence of a struggle or a fight that I could see on the remains is typical of self-inflicted. Now, sometimes self-inflicted occurs unintentionally. Russian roulette, playing with a weapon, not knowing it's loaded. Drinking, having a lot of alcohol.
I got one for that one.
I'm sober enough to know what I'm doing, and I'm drunk enough to really enjoy doing it.
That's going to be J Money tomorrow. Tiff, welcome in here. Frog, welcome in. Thanks, everyone, for coming through. Appreciate it.
All on board.
Okay. You mentioned alcohol, Dr. Bodden. role, if any, does alcohol or drugs, does it play with people that die of self-inflicted wounds?
Well, about half of all suicides, and more than that of all even accidental gunshot deaths, involve alcohol. Alcohol diminishes inhibitions. Alcohol, that somebody who might be inhibited from harming oneself, it might be that desire not to harm oneself might be taken away by the alcohol. That the person may be reckless. The person may not realize that the weapon is loaded. So people do foolish things when they're drinking, and about half of all people who commit suicide, I'm not saying this is suicide, half of all people who commit suicide have alcohol on board.
Okay. How about drugs in addition or by itself? Were there any to...
Drugs act in many ways like alcohol, the narcotic drugs especially, by diminishing ability to think clearly, by doing foolish things while under the influence of drugs.
Now, is it routine for medical examiners, when they do an autopsy, to take specimens for toxicology evaluation? Yes. And what types of evaluations are typically done?
Well, normally in a violent death, anybody who dies of accident or suicide or homicide, the medical examiner will remove specimens to look for alcohol in particular and a whole variety of drugs of abuse to see whether or not they may have contributed to the lethal action.
Okay, and with reference to Ms. Clarkson, what were the toxicology results in her case?
The toxicology results showed a 0.12 alcohol. I think in California, 0.08 might be the DWI, driving while intoxicated level. So this was higher than that, 0.12 alcohol. And she had a therapeutic level of Vicodin. Vicodin is hydrocodone, related to codeine, and is also is a narcotic painkiller.
Okay. What's the effect of both of them if they're both taken at the same time, if you know?
They will add to each other's effects in the body, both as far as killing pain and as far as any kind of inhibition of activity. They will act to impair judgment, impair vision, impair hearing, impair driving ability, and impair the ability to protect oneself.
Okay. Now, when you have a 0.12 blood alcohol level, how many drinks is that? Are you able to tell?
It would be about the equivalent.
Well, I think you do need like a foundation on this matter.
Have you published any papers on alcohol and drug and their effects on the body, how they're ingested and how many, what kind of levels people get to after that occurs?
Yes.
Okay. Have you testified as an expert in that field before?
Yes.
Okay. And when somebody drinks, basically the process is that they consume the alcohol, it goes into the stomach for a period of time, then it gets absorbed into the bloodstream. Is that true?
Yes.
And once it gets absorbed into the bloodstream, you test the blood, you can tell the level. Is that correct?
Yes.
And how long does it take, based upon your knowledge in this particular area, for once, let's say, a drink of alcohol is consumed to the time it actually gets to the bloodstream?
That depends on how much material is in the stomach. It's slower if one has just eaten a meal, and it's very fast if the stomach is empty. So on an empty stomach, the alcohol will be absorbed in half an hour. Lana Clark had pretty much an empty,
Let me ask you a question. That wasn't the question, Dr. Bott, but let me ask you this. At the autopsy, is one of the things that the pathologist does to look at the stomach to see if it has anything in it?
Yes.
Okay, and did Dr. Pena do that in your presence?
Yes.
Okay, and what was the result of that? What was the observation?
There were about 180 cc of fluid in the stomach. 180 cc would be about 6 ounces, 30 ounces to 30 grams or 30 cc to an ounce. So there'd be about 6 ounces of fluid in the stomach at the time that she died.
Okay, and no solids, no food, that type of thing?
Now, there's a little white material, but no solid food.
Okay. And was it possible that some alcohol was in her stomach and just not digested?
Sure, there could have been. I would think there was alcohol in that fluid. Yes.
Okay, and do they test for that? Does the autopsy check for that?
Dr. Pena collected that material and sent it to the toxicologist together with the blood and urine and other materials, but it wasn't tested.
Okay. So we don't know what was exactly in the stomach, presumably alcohol, but the blood had a 0.12 level.
Well, the femoral blood had 0.12. The heart blood had 0.14, was higher.
Okay. What does it take for somebody of Miss Clarkson's stature and build and weight to get to a 0.12, the number of drinks of alcohol?
It's very small.
It would take about 6 ounces of hard liquor, 6 shots, or 6 12-ounce cans of beer, or 6 4-ounce glasses of wine, all have the same content to reach a 0.12 level in Miss Clarkson, and she would burn up one of those every hour. So if she drank over 2 hours, you'd have to add 2 more drinks.
Okay. So, Dr. Bodden, with reference to the alcohol level together with the Vicodin, and what is Vicodin, if you could tell us what type of a drug that is?
Vicodin is a narcotic drug similar to codeine and morphine, and used as a painkiller, and has all of the benefits and debits of a narcotic drug.
Okay. Is it subject to being addicted to?
Yes, it causes relief of pain, but it also can cause addiction.
Okay. With reference to the toxicology issues, how do they play into the issue of the death being self-inflicted or not? And, well, let me ask you this question. I apologize, Dr. Bodden, but did you get all of this toxicology information from Attorney Leslie Abramson when she provided you these materials that you previously discussed?
Yes.
Okay, and I take it, is that when you came to your formal opinions in this case after you reviewed that material?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, my opinions about cause and manner of death, yes.
Okay. Other materials came to you later, I take it. Is that also correct? The medical records and things of that nature?
Yes.
Okay. Now, at the time that you got these materials and came to your opinions as to cause and manner of death, was your wife, Linda Candy Bodden, was she involved in the case at that time?
No.
Okay. With reference to this particular case, I'd like to ask you some questions about the scene and the position of Miss Clarkson, and I want you to look at a photograph that I have of that.
Mentioned here.
And this would be Defendant's Exhibit T. You see this photograph, Dr. Bodden?
Yes, I do.
What do you recognize it to be?
The scene where Miss Clarkson was found and the position that she was in when she was found by the police.
And was this one of the photographs that was given to you by Leslie Aronson to review along with the other materials that we discussed?
Yes.
And the position that Ms. Clarkson was found, as shown in this photograph, Exhibit T, is that the position that she was in at the time that the shot was fired? Were her arms and legs in the same position? Was she in the chair in the same way that's shown in this photograph?
My opinion would be not, that was not the position she was in when she was, when the shooting occurred.
Okay, why is that, Dr. Bodden?
Because arms and legs move after head and spinal cord injuries. There are reflex actions, there are other actions that can occur with a spinal cord injury, and the very statement, dancing at the end of a rope, really is based on the fact that when people were hanged and they suffered a fatal cervical spine, C1, C2, fracture and injury to spinal cord, there was a lot of movement of the arms and legs that looked to the onlookers like dancing, but that's often happens when those injuries occur.
Have you been to scenes where this has been an issue or something that's come up?
Yes, when I go to, or used to go to death scenes, often I'd be able to talk to friends and relatives or who saw the death occur. And very commonly, arms and legs would move after the fatal injury occurred, a stab wound, a gunshot wound of the neck, for example, or head. And they would describe that there was certain motion after the injury occurred and after the bad guy ran away.
Is there any way to know where Ms. Clarkson was, how she was seated when the gunshot went off?
Not from this. My opinion would be that it would not be proper to assume that she was in this position just because she was found in this position. But I can't tell you from this exactly how she was.
Okay. We know which way the bullet went in. Is that true?
Yes.
Can you demonstrate, or could you come to any type of opinion or conclusion that you could explain to the jury as to how she was seated when the gunshot went off? Is that possible?
Well, taking in other information.
That's what I'm asking you to do.
Yeah, taking in all the information I do have. My opinion would be that her right hand was on the thumb of the weapon, the hand being on the grip of the gun, thumb on the trigger, weapon in the mouth, the gun in the mouth, and the left hand being in proximity or a little bit on top of the right hand at the time of discharge. And that takes into account the injury in the mouth caused by the discharge. It takes into account that there were gunshot residues on the hands. It takes into account that there were tissue that came out of the mouth on her jacket or jacket sleeve, and a button on the left, and it takes into account some blood spatters that can be seen in some of the photos on the left hand and on the right hand. Unfortunately, the whole hand doesn't show on the photos.
Okay, let me ask you about the blood spatter and so forth. Have you reviewed any, well, did you know whether or not a criminalist by the name of Jamie Lintemoot collected anything from the area of the decedent's, the backs of her hands and wrists prior to the body being moved? Is there some information in the coroner's file from that?
Yes.
Okay, and you reviewed all the information in the coroner's file, correct?
Yes.
And does it describe her swabbing what she described as possible blood spatter on the back of the hands and wrists?
I think, as I recall, she says there was blood on the back of the hands and wrists, but only swabbed, if I recall, the wrists, but didn't swab the back of the hands, but asked for photos to be taken of the back of the hands, and that those photos didn't come out good.
Okay. Now, Dr. Bodden, with reference to this particular death of Miss Clarkson, did you look at or determine how the teeth were ejected from the mouth?
Yes. In my opinion, the dental materials, not so much the actual teeth, the dental materials that covered her teeth were ejected away from the body and some distance to the staircase directly across from where she was seated.
I'm going to show a photograph of her.
Before we go that far, they're getting deep here. Dr. Bodden, Linda's husband, still her husband here as well, just explained how he thinks that Lana killed herself. That's pretty crazy. I've actually demonstrated that on this show many times. That's the only theory, the only possibility is her just like, they're pushing towards that she already kind of wanted to kill herself because of these headaches that she had. Her life was going to shit. She wasn't, even really getting films anymore. And then we went that deep into how she broke her wrist and how this depressed her. And then she's in this moment from, presumably Phil Spector, who pulls out a gun on her, because we've heard from many girls before what he does, how he does it when they try to leave. And at this moment, that's when she decides to do it, per se. And the way he just demonstrated it. Whoa, okay. I don't know, man. Gabby coming through here, getting on the wheel, really starting us out with the wheel here. I think you're number 2 and 3. Thank you. That's a $5. $5 there in the chat from Gabby. Thank you so much, Gabby. Gabby is a chef. I don't know if anybody knows that or not. Incredible. Putting your name right. Wait a minute, I'm putting you in the wrong spot. I'm putting you in the winner circle. Hold on, I got to go up. I was putting her in the winner circle. I've got a list here. I've got a new one. Yeah, Kathy is the only one on here so far. So Gabby just solidified herself 2 spots on the wheel. Thank you, Gabby, so much. I really appreciate it. But yeah, what does everybody think? Do we think that it is possible Phil Spector was an innocent man? Innocent's maybe not the right word, because he would have, in any theory, I feel like you got to put the gun in her face, in her mouth, still by the hand of Phil Spector. The only way I can even get there through the Bodden stuff right now is because of, or would be, her taking control of the situation and saying, oh yeah, boom, which seems fucking crazy. It seems crazy. I don't know though, man. Coucher, whoa, $1.99 coming through. Thank you so much. Damn. You know what? I forgot the bells too. Let's give everybody some bells. Coucher getting on here. Yeah, trying to do one. We trying to do one of these sons of bitches tonight? Let's try it. Let's get it going. That's 4 names. You only need 8 more to get a wheel spin. And the wheel's been tight. I don't know if anybody's seen the wheel, how tight it is. This son of a bitch, since I tightened up the base, boom. That was even an aggressive spin. I can go even, hold on, let me tighten up the back just a little bit. I can even go, even just a little spin gets her going. Boom. Gets her popping. Oh shit, my light. Almost lost it. Woo. I just did some ninja shit over here to the side. My God. Damn, coming through the old Cash App real quick. J Money coming through with a $3 holler. And I don't think that was it. Came through with a $2 holler also. Boom. $5 from J Money. But with those 2 donations, smartly done, if I may say so myself, because that gets J Money on the wheel twice in a row. And that's a 5-spot through the Cash App. Thank you so much. And that's up to 6 names just out of nowhere. Thank you all so much. Appreciate that. Oh, yeah. A lot of likes that came through here. Appreciate that also. Damn, Gabby with a 149. We got to take up the whole wheel right now. Shit. Also, there is no limit to the wheel. There's no limit to the wheel whatsoever. Gabby, thank you so much. Where are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 names. Damn, hell yes. Oh, damn, Chris coming through here. Chris Stewart coming through here. Chat, ACW. ACW. He's been hanging out in the wrestling streams, man. Chris getting on the wheel right now. This wheel is filling up now. We might have a shot. I don't even know. We're going to pop one off if we get a wheel spin here tonight. Get you on here real quick. Now, where was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're only 4 away. Damn, I did not expect that to happen so quick. That was fucking sweet. All right. But yeah, I think this has been getting interesting. That's kind of why I wanted to come back in here again tonight with Linda's husband. Again, very familiar with the internet community that's out here right now in this very space. So I know a lot of friends. Mod to this channel. I think mod for her. Like there's a connection. At the beginning of this trial, when we first started, that connection wasn't there. She's entered the YouTube space. I think she used to work for Law and Crime. And she's now, been sick. So she's not in the room with her husband right now. But
Mouth and teeth area from the autopsy and ask you to
shit, hold on. Before we get started, damn, we still ain't done over here. I went back to a quick. Bonnie Bailey coming through. Bonnie, who I finally got some t-shirts to. And I love it that she's probably rocking one right now. She's probably representing Publicly Buzzed, baby. Thank you so much, Bonnie, coming through with a $2 holla. That's all the way from Canada. That's all the way across a border. And Micah's going to come through here. Again, all these folks are membered up. Actually, this is a perfect time to do this right here while we're here, besides the Let's Rock. Micah, let me get you on here. Thank you so much. Boom, with a 150. Getting you a spot on the wheel. But let me do a quick plug. Book club immediately after this, folks. The only way to be in the book club after this following immediately will be if you are membered up and part of the official Buzz Nation. If you're a part of the crew that's going to make the journey across into those lands. And tonight I remembered to actually make it members only. So it will be a members only stream. Chapters 18 and 19 is what I'm going over tonight. I've got my notes ready to rock and roll. Hold up here. Okay. Pammy coming through Cash App. $10. Damn. Pammy comes through and she just goes, boom. Hold on. I'm going to give her one too. Hold on. I'm going to give you one of these. Boom with a $10 holla through that Cash App. Thank you so much, Pammy. Holy cow. We're going to do it. I can feel it in my bones. We're actually going to spin a wheel. We're going to do it right now. Couch Juror said, just because I like everyone, we still ain't done. Holy shit. I'm going to keep amping it up too. Holy shit. Where are we at right now? And then Gabby said ain't done either. 150 from Gabby. Damn. Okay, hold on. Are we there? We might have made it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, wow. Gabby just started a new wheel. Okay, Couch Jurors was the end of that wheel. Holy fuck. All right. So Gabby will start a new fresh wheel, the next one. We have a wheel here tonight. That got crazy. And also Chris showing off 7 whole freaking months. Damn, everybody out here. Thank y'all so much. Appreciate that. Getting wild in here tonight. And I tell you right now, I'm gonna start filling this thing out right now. That got crazy. Wow. Good Lord.
take a look at it, and I believe it's Exhibit C to the 9th.
That was a hype fest right there, baby.
Do you recognize this photograph as being one taken at or near the time of the autopsy? Has a date on it of February 5th.
This was taken the day after I had seen the body. So I wasn't there when the photo was taken, but I was there, if I may use this,
get this thing going.
At the autopsy, did see the dental material that had been blown off from the two upper incisors, two upper teeth, and the one on the left, what I'm pointing to, just the outer covering.
The outer covering, would that be the veneer?
Yes, that would be part of the dental material that was covered.
Okay, and the portions of the natural teeth that are showing in this particular photograph, those would be natural teeth as opposed to
Yeah.
material.
Kathy, thanks for
Yeah,
probably
these are
going through
natural
your-
teeth prepared for dental material to cover the teeth.
And did you examine this area of Miss Clarkson's body at the time of the autopsy?
Yes,
Does it look the same in this photograph C9 as it did when you looked at it?
yes.
Now, while we're here, there's a number of what appear to be bruises and different things on the outer areas of her mouth, on her lips.
This is leading.
Well, I don't, it depends. It may be leading even though it has facts in it. I have to hear the whole question, and I'll hear the question and then make a decision.
There appears to be a number of marks, bruises, whatever they're called, in the outer areas of the lips and the inner part of the mouth. What are they?
Yeah. I think that's stippling. That's little fragments of gunshot residues or even material from the teeth that struck the inside lining, the mucosa of the lips.
If, for example, on the left, looks like there's something here. I'm pointing to it. I don't want to say what it is, in the inside and outside. What causes those?
Well, the force of the gases moving anything, any small object, any tiny pinhead-sized material against the lining can cause little punctate hemorrhages. And on the margins, here too, and more prominently on the left, which I don't see here, there can be stretch injuries from the time when the gases come in and stretch the mouth out, and little hemorrhages will occur at the points of stretch.
And what causes the mouth to expand?
The gases that come from the muzzle of the gun.
Okay, is that something that's usual in this type of interoral inside the mouth gunshot wound?
Yes.
Oh yeah, thanks
Are
for
these
the
types
hobby.
of injuries that you see in the mouth, are they similar or characteristic of other cases where you've had people when they shot themselves inside the mouth?
Yes.
Now, what actually, let me ask you this question. Did you come to understand, Dr. Bodden, that at some point in time the gun was looked at that was found at the scene, and that would be Exhibit RR. I don't want to show that again, but do you recall seeing photographs of the gun and reading reports regarding the gun and any material that might have been found on the gun?
Yes.
Okay, I want to show you another photograph,
screen.
Exhibit
I'd like to hear.
SS. Ask you to take a look at that, and then we'll get back to this photograph. Do you recognize this as being a photograph of the site, and that this portion here with the ridges being the rear ramp of the gun site, and the bullet or the front of the gun, the muzzle of the gun, being in this direction here to the right of the photograph?
Yes.
Okay, and did you read any reports or any testing reports regarding what this material was, and was it determined to be natural tooth material?
Yeah. My recollection is that there was natural tooth material on that site.
Okay, and based upon what you saw at the autopsy, based upon the injuries to the mouth and the circumstances that you previously identified, where did this natural tooth material come from?
From striking the upper, one of the upper teeth.
Okay, we can get back to the last photograph. Yeah, this one here. Does there appear to be in the natural tooth material, was there some defect in it that was different than the defect that was created when the crown was put on the tooth? In other words, was there some change in it?
I don't recall. I don't recall.
In your opinion, Dr. Bodden, what caused the prosthetic or the crowns to come off of these two
Does
portions
anybody
of
in the
teeth?
chat on the, just out of interest, like think that she could have done this to herself, or is being persuaded?
In my opinion, the blast effect, the blast of the gases
Put up a poll too, just in
streaming
case anybody's
outward
shy.
caused the dental material to break off and to fly out toward the staircase.
Okay. And would the head have been positioned in the direction where the teeth, in the general direction where the teeth were?
Yes.
So this portion of the missing acrylic on the, this would be a canine tooth, is that correct? Or
No, that would be a lateral incisor.
lateral incisor, and then
The
the
two medial incisors are the ones that material is broken off, and right next to them are the lateral incisors.
Okay. And there was some missing tooth material on one of the two posts of the teeth.
The one on the left, yes.
One on the left, okay. And that would be consistent with the tooth material on the side of the gun, is that correct?
I see, yeah, that would be too, yes.
Okay, now, Dr. Bodden, with reference to the gun, what happens to the gun once it's fired inside the mouth? In other words, what effect is there when the gun is discharged inside the mouth as far as where the gun goes or doesn't go?
Well, the gravity comes into the picture, and the gun would slide down. Usually when somebody has discharged a weapon and causes death, the hands relax and the weapon goes down by gravity. So in this instance, the weapon would have slid from the mouth down the chest to the floor.
Just real quick, out of 9 votes, the majority is no. They don't think that she did it to herself. There is a still not sure factor, but no one has picked yes.
Okay.
Out of 10 votes.
Dr. Bodden, with reference to the, do you know what a recoil is of a gun?
Yes,
Have you ever shot a gun?
yes.
Okay, and what is recoil as you understand it?
It's when the gases, we go back to Newton, when the gases go forward, the gun goes backwards. It's the opposite direction of the force of the blast.
Okay. Dr. Bodden, with reference to the physical evidence there, the loss of the teeth, is it all consistent with Ms. Clarkson pulling the trigger to the gun while the barrel was inside of her mouth?
Yes.
Now, the gun barrel in this particular case is about 2 inches long. Would the gun barrel have been about 2 inches inside the mouth or less than that, or do you know?
It could have been 2 inches or 1.5 inches in the mouth.
Okay. Is there any way to tell from the physical evidence, the nature of the injuries to the lips, the mouth, inside the mouth, the tongue, whether or not the lips were open, closed, or anything such as that?
Yeah, yes, yes.
What can you tell about that?
I can tell from the stretch marks on the side that the lips would have been loosely applied to the barrel. If the lips were tightly applied, then there'd be real tears in the stretch marks, so that we sometimes see tears on the cheeks, on the outside of the cheeks from the blast effect contained by the tight lips. If the mouth were wide open, there probably wouldn't be any injury to the sides of the angles of the mouth. Okay. So I think it was probably loosely adherent to cause some stretch injury on the left, and but no severe injury.
Okay. Dr. Bodden, I'm going to show you another photograph, Y to the 6th. Take a look at that.
Blue on gold, son. You coming through? You coming through my hood? Shit. Motherfucking Phil Spector spot.
You
Better
see this photograph,
realize,
Dr.
better
Bodden?
recognize.
Yes.
And do you see this what appears to be some type of a darker object on the web area of the hand?
Yeah, the red, yes, it looks like blood.
Okay. When you've been to these scenes, these death scenes, have you ever seen blood on people before? Is that something that you would ever look for?
Sure, blood on people, blood on walls, blood in the scene, sure.
Okay, and is that something that if you go to a scene that you try to take note of, or at least to look at it to see if it might give you
Well,
some
them votes
information?
still no yeses.
Yes.
And why do you do that?
Because sometimes the blood spatters and the blood patterns can be helpful to the forensic pathologist at the scene. In this instance, for example, this type of spatter can be very helpful because that's a sort of bowling pin type spatter where, to me, it looks like a bowling pin, where the spatter lands here and continues in that direction.
I'm going to check at this point, Your Honor. There's no foundation for this. The doctor's already said that he's not a blood spatter expert.
Sustained, if you want to try to lay a foundation, you may.
You know, I think I'll do this. Doctor, I want you to assume for purposes of this question that this is, that the blood spatter starts here and goes up in the direction where the dot is. Just assume that fact for purposes of this question.
Yes.
If you assume that, does that blood spatter assist you at all in explaining what happened in this particular case?
Again, I want to pose an objection. The doctor's not a blood spatter expert.
You're going to have to lay a little more foundation. I'm going to sustain the objection, but you can attempt to lay a foundation.
Doctor, in the scenes that you've gone to, have you ever encountered situations where there's blood on people's hands?
Yes.
Have you ever seen blood on people's hands where they've shot themselves?
Yes.
Okay, where the manner of death was self-inflicted wound?
Yes.
Is there literature that you're familiar with within your specialty of forensic pathology, in other words, literature that the 400 forensic pathologists would review, such as yourself, dealing with blood on hands and things of that nature?
Yes.
Now, have you ever been to forensic scientific conferences where people talked about blood spatter as it relates to cause and manner of death?
Yes.
Have you actually talked about blood spatter as it relates to the body and what a forensic pathologist should look for in trying to determine the cause and manner of death?
Yes.
All right, I'm satisfied. You may proceed, Jake.
And
How you doing?
when you would go to a scene, if there was a suggestion that somebody was shot, whether it was self-inflicted or not, would you look at blood that was on the person's face or hands or feet or wherever it was found?
Yes.
Okay. How about, let's say, their clothing, if it was on their skirt or whatever?
Yes.
Okay. And why would you want to look at it, particularly if it was on somebody's hands?
Well, if their issue has to do with the position of the hands relative to some wounds on the body that blood comes from, the blood spatter may help in telling the forensic pathologist where the hands were in relation to that injury, be it a stab wound or a gunshot wound.
In this particular case, does this blood stain help you do that?
Yes.
How does it help you do that?
It helps me because it tells me, this is the base of the thumb, that this blood spatter is going in the direction away from the thumb. And
There's more not sure than I thought there would be. We're 77% to 23%. 0% on yes, of course, but yeah. Oh, shit. I just jumped way ahead, dude. Oh, my God. Hold on.
What do you mean by homicide?
homicide is a medical term, not a have come out of the mouth and out of the nose
Right in here.
and
I think.
demonstrates that tissue
Let's fuck
came
that
out, and the absence of tissue on anybody else would make that indication.
Okay. So does that further support your
Welcome
opinion
back,
that
Dale.
this was a self-inflicted
I
wound
used
as
to
opposed
call him
to
now.
a homicide, which means the death was at the hand of another?
Yes.
Now, did the materials that Ms. Clarkson sent you, did they contain information regarding Mr. Spector, background information,
I need to object. I think Mr. Ford needs to correct himself.
Well, let me
Ms.
rephrase
Clarkson,
it.
he said Ms. Clarkson. Ms. Clarkson didn't send him anything.
Oh, did Ms. Abramson, I'm sorry, did she send you materials regarding Mr. Spector's background, incidents with him allegedly regarding guns that you considered before you came to your opinions in this case?
I did receive such materials. I'm not sure from Ms. Abramson or afterwards.
Okay. Let me ask you this question, Dr. Bodden, with reference to what is the definition that a pathologist uses when he determines that something is a homicide as opposed to another manner of death? What do you mean by homicide?
Homicide is a medical term, not a legal term. And it means death caused by somebody else.
Okay.
That, if I may explain.
Go ahead and explain.
Doesn't mean criminal necessarily. Capital punishment, if somebody dies in the electric chair, we would call that, even though it's legal, we would call that homicide. If there's some kind of self-defense or all, we would say homicide and up to the district attorney to decide if it's a crime or not. So homicide just means death caused by the actions of another.
Okay, so does it include identity, the issue of identity? In other words, when you rule something's a homicide, do you conclude who it is or who it's not?
The medical examiner is responsible for determining the name of the correct name of the person put on the death certificate. So it's our responsibility to make sure the identification is correct.
What does Jay say?
The term homicide would be the same even if it were an unknown person. So we would call it homicide whether or not we knew the identity of the individual.
Okay. And in this particular case, it was your opinion that this was a self-inflicted wound and not a homicide. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Even he's saying homicide.
Dr. Bodden,
He hears another person saying it correctly and still chooses to say
put on
homo.
another exhibit. This would be a medical record that starts with 7521. And it's
God.
previously marked as E11.
Hey, Couch Juror, thanks for popping in. Hey, let's before you leave, we'll do a will. You were super generous. Let's get you in here. Hold on. Boom. Good luck, everyone. Oh shit! Hold on. I need to tighten it up. Hold on. That thing got a little rickety. Let's re-go. Let's go. Oh whoa! Hold on. Okay, hold on. I don't know why that thing's going so crazy. Hold on. Oh, there we go. That's a smooth one. He's a little bit crazy. Couch Juror won! Couch Juror won, ladies and gentlemen! Couch Juror is the winner! Congratulations! Couch Juror just got that son of a bitch!
I'm telling you like it is, baby. Give me the loot.
That's how you do that shit! Oh, fuck! Yeah, Couch Juror was like, I'm out of here. Spun the wheel. Couch Juror is the winner. Congratulations, Couch Juror. Hold on, let me get you in the winner circle here. Boom. Boom. I know I got magnets left. If I have any stickers, I think I have some stickers left. And then if I have a tat left, I'll throw it in there too. We'll see where we're at. But you are a winner. Fuck yeah. Give me the loot.
7571.
Got that shit.
1 and 2.
Yes.
That's a good spin. That was a good one in the end. I was worried about the first two. It was a wonky wheel in the beginning. I don't know why she went wonky. No damn reason to go
Do you want to
wonk
approach?
out.
Since everybody's headed this way, I'm going to sort of guess that.
Couch Juror Bill too, didn't they? They didn't even see it. Did they see it?
Dr. Bodden, I want you to look at this exhibit E11, which purports to be a Cedars-Sinai medical record relating to Ms. Clarkson. During your review of materials involved in this case, did you have occasion to look at medical records relating to Lana Clarkson from various contacts that she had with medical professionals?
Yes.
Do you recognize this particular exhibit as being one from Cedars-Sinai Hospital that was associated with a incident where she fractured her wrist in a fall accident?
Yes, I have it in front of me.
Okay.
A copy.
I want to ask you whether or not you found to be significant. Is this the type of material that a pathologist such as you yourself would review in coming to a conclusion as to the manner of death?
Yes.
Okay, and why would something like a medical record be something that you would want to review?
Well, in general, we review records to see any prior illnesses, any thing that might help determine the cause of death. In this instance, the cause of death is fairly obvious. The manner of death, what she was thinking, whether she was depressed, can be evaluated from past medical histories. So it's helpful in that way. It's not dispositive, but helpful.
Okay, and what was this document or this record helpful in any way regarding Ms. Clarkson's past medical history as well as any prior medications that she was on or things of that nature that you thought were important?
Yes.
Okay, what was important about this particular medical record based upon your review of it?
Yes, this was actually on Christmas Day, December 25th, 2001, that she was at Cedars-Sinai, and because of fractures of both wrists. And it says here, according to the treating orthopedist, in the past medical history, which is routinely obtained when people come to the hospital, quote, significant for migraine headaches and some depression. And then the medication indicates Paxil and headache medication. So that was helpful in trying to evaluate her past history.
Now, did you have occasion to look at her medication prescription records from Long's Drug Store?
I did.
And did it include medications for headaches and Paxil medications for whatever reason it was given?
Yes.
And were there other medical records that talked about these headaches that Ms. Clarkson had a medical history for?
Yes.
And how were they characterized in her medical records that you reviewed in this case? If you could give, were they just minor headaches, moderate, severe?
They were usually referred to as migraine headaches, which are pretty severe headaches.
Were they just once or twice, or were they over a period of time, or what was the duration?
That she had had headaches, as I recall, since she was a teenager, over a period of time.
Okay, and what's the significance of that, if anything?
That in itself isn't significant to me in evaluating the manner of death. The medications taken, the mentions of depression are more significant.
Okay, so you're really concerned with the depression that is associated with her, if they're associated with her headaches or for whatever reason.
Yeah, I'm mostly interested in whatever history of depression there is, regardless of the headaches.
Okay. Now, if somebody has a history of depression, that's known as a psychiatric or psychological history. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and
Holy shit. Somebody in the chat voted yes. I don't know if it was a troll vote or not, but we're up to 17 votes. There's one person at least
did you note in
who thinks that
the coroner's file that there are some notes or statements in the coroner's file by Dr. Pena that there was no history of, no psychiatric history as far as Ms. Clarkson was concerned?
Gil's coming in and shaking his whole
Do you agree with that based upon your review of her medical records, particularly this record here that we have marked as Exhibit E11?
Based on my review of the medical records, and I must say, I think I reviewed much more records than Dr. Pena had available to him.
That calls for speculation. Move to strike.
Well, actually, I think he was trying to be nice to Dr. Pena. That's the way I incorporated it. But I agree with you, it's not relevant, so
Okay, you're
the motion to strike that portion of his answer, that he believes he has more available than Dr. Pena had, that's stricken, the jury's admonished to disregard it.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I think, given the records that I reviewed, she had a history of depression going back to her teenage, and that she had been
Cracking me up,
had
dude.
significant.
Counsel, I think we need to approach the bench. Let's approach the bench.
Little approachal.
Depression going back to her teenage years is stricken. You're admonished to
Ladies and
disregard it.
gentlemen.
All right, you may proceed.
Dr. Bond, I want to kind of limit
You don't want to go? Hold on.
things to, let's say, the year 2004, to the date and time of Miss Clarkson's death. Did you see in the medical records indications that Miss Clarkson had some type of depression that was going on?
That she had episodes of depression, yes.
Okay, and would it be correct that close in time to the death are the more relevant, are relevant as far as depression is concerned in the manner of death?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a hypothetical question, Dr. Bodden, with reference to a person's mental state. When you're trying to determine the manner of death, do you look at things to try to understand what their mental state was at or near the time of their death?
Yes.
And hypothetically, if there was some information that somebody was, quote, hearing voices, meaning voices that weren't real, would that be something that you would want to consider in determining the manner of death?
I hear voices.
That assumes facts, not an evidence.
Sustain. We've ruled on this. Just don't go where I've ruled. And the jury's admonished to disregard this conversation. Mr. Plord, that's 2 in a row. I don't want to go there a third time.
Son of a bitch!
You done fucked up.
Hey, motherfucker.
The wrong judge, son.
I would like
Discussion on the
to.
bench, and I've just
It's like, do you need to come up here and get a motherfucking spanking in front of everybody?
made my feelings clear. Please go on to the next subject matter.
I'd like to give a hypothetical regarding Mr. Barone, who testified, Your Honor.
As long as it stays within what has been testified to, and the question was way too broad.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. I apologize. I want you to assume for purposes of this question that within the month of
Take it admonished.
Miss Clarkson's death
Into the
that she
fucking
was
ground. Judge
involved
Dowhard.
in a play.
Boom,
They were doing
boom, boom,
rehearsals,
boom,
and it
boom,
was
boom,
reported
shut
that
down.
she said something
Good
about
job,
hearing voices
Lord.
that didn't appear to
You
be
dizzy bitch.
real. Would that be something
here.
you want to consider
Running
if
them
that were true
yappers.
in deciding
Hold
and
it back
determining
just a
the
notch.
manner of death?
We've talked about it.
Proper hypothetical. That assumes facts that are
Son
not
of
in
a
evidence, and
bitch.
that's
We're
not
going
just
back
as
there.
long.
Approach the bench.
Whoa! You done fucked up, Lord.
Back on the record, the parties are present as heretofore, except for the jurors and the alternates. Have issues?
Real
Yes.
quickly, Mr. Jackson, I've got 3 emails that I'm going to be using with the doctor that have not ever been shown to the jury. When showed me.
He still went there again.
Deleting certain portions.
Lord's
of it.
walking the line here.
I think it's the first email with Dr. Goldenson's reference to it. There's one sentence in the email. It probably is the one that's on the top of your stack right there,
Okay.
Judge. Maybe 3/4 of the way down, where she says, I haven't met her, but I intend to soon, or something like that. That single sentence where she's indicating an intention to go see someone, I think should be excluded. The name of the doctor should be excluded as well.
My feeling is that the address of the doctor, the phone number should be, but not the name. I mean, the fact that she's referring a doctor as opposed to a holistic medicine person or somebody else, I don't think anything should be excluded except for the biographical information.
It's not and I saw you look at me, it's not that it's privileged. I
back
recognize
there.
that is not a
I just don't
communication
wear
between the
it.
doctor and the
Very
patient.
uncomfortable.
My argument would be it's not relevant, because I think any communication between the doctor and the patient is the only way that it would become relevant. Therefore, since that is privileged, I believe that reference is irrelevant.
She doesn't mean
And I'm sorry, I'm the prosecution. The defense gets the point across. I think they want the point of the email that she's got some addiction problems of her own, dealing with pain pills.
But if she gives the name of a doctor, their person, it's just, it seems to strengthen that she's talking about a specific person.
I have no problem with that, and even I don't have a problem with the portion that says, I'm going to give you the name of a doctor.
Right.
I have a problem with the portion that says, and I might go see that doctor myself. That's the portion I have.
Well, I disagree, because that is an intention of her state of mind. And since she's revealed it to a third person, this is not privileged. So I believe it can all come in. If they're going to delete the address and the biographical, that's fine.
Fair enough.
That's it. I'm going to leave the name of the doctor just to show
That's fine.
Dr. So-and-so.
You may.
Okay, very good. Other than that, did you have that straight?
What about,
The only other,
is that the only one in this stack?
that was the only one in that stack. The only other thing I had, and I think Mr. Plord and I can deal with that, the address, I'm sorry, the dates are all missing. They're incorrect, and I want to make sure that, actually, there's two things. Jennifer is, I'd ask for a stipulation that email is to Jennifer Sykes, not Jennifer Hayes, since there is a Jennifer in this case. Or just that it's not Jennifer Hayes. I don't care if you put the last name in.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Okay.
I think it is.
The second thing is the
Dates, we can stipulate
Yeah.
that the dates here, January 2nd, 1904.
are incorrect.
Right.
And the jury should be able to put, it's up to them to put them in context however they choose to.
That's
All
right.
right. Okay. Anything else?
The last thing is, I think Mr. Plord indicated that he may be wrapping things up
Okay.
with Dr. Bodden, and I need a little guidance. I can do one of two things, Judge, if you want to.
Well, I can give you some guidance, which will probably
Whoa,
tell you exactly
Tammy's
what you
ready.
need to do.
Fine.
The choices I have, based upon the findings I've made, are either to strike that portion of Dr. Bodden's testimony or to give a jury instruction later on. In order to strike it under People versus Edwards, which
Not even
is 17
Friday.
Calip 4th, 1248, I have to be able to make three findings. An intentional violation of a discovery order, which I've made that finding. Improper intent to gain tactical advantage, which I've made that finding. And the third finding is exhaustion of all other less restrictive sanctions that would achieve the purpose of discovery. Now, at this point, I'm not going to excuse Dr. Bodden if you want to, consult with other doctors, so for the purpose of cross. So to get to the striking, I can't make the third finding at this point. So I would say do what you need to do, and I'm not going to excuse him, and we'll go from there. Okay?
That's fine, Your Honor.
All right? And just so there was some... Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt the
okay.
court's train of thought. I obviously need to cross-examine on certain issues.
Yeah.
What I want to make sure we don't do is, because I have to cross-examine on certain timing issues, et cetera, and Dr. Bodden's a smart guy, he'll figure out what that is pretty quick. Mr. Plord may want to get up on redirect and re-explore that entire area, and I think that is an improper, it's kind of bootstrapping. It's going to use what I have to do to explain it to the jury against me, and I'm kind of stuck.
Well, there's another case, it's not directly pertinent, though it sort of gets there. There's a case, I think it's People versus Lamb, which is at 136 Calap 4th, 611. In the Lamb case, the remedy they found for the type of violation we have here was they prevented, they actually presented the defense from calling the witness at all in sur rebuttal. This is sort of semi-related to it. So at this point, until you're done and you've had a chance to examine this, if you happen to finish before you go on with your other attempts to get either other witnesses or talk about it and let me know what's happening, I'm not going to give the defense permission to go back in and use that at this point. Now, at some point, that may become appropriate, but not right afterwards until
Yes,
you've
Your Honor.
exhausted everything you've done.
Yes, Your
so you need to pay attention. Mr. Brunon.
Could you repeat the Edwards side? I'm sorry.
Sure. Well, you want the Lamb or the Edwards case?
Yes, Edwards, please.
Edwards is 17 Calap 4th, 1248. Lamb is 136 Calap 4th at 611. And there's two other cases you might like talking about the oral report that needs to be given, or if an oral report is given to the defense, the need to turn it over to the prosecution is the same Lamb case, and also Rowland versus Superior Court at 124 Calap 4th, 154. Okay, all right, okay. Now, the only other thing, I assume we're almost ready for the jury, is do we need to talk about this two-page, while we're doing it all, we might as well do it now. This two-page, looks like it from her date book, Miss Clarkson's date book.
Yes, it is.
What is it you want to use it for?
Actually, I wasn't going to get into it with this witness at this time. We're going to eventually ask it to be brought into evidence.
Okay, I'll just put it aside for right now. And what about the prosecution filed a motion the other day for records? Have you had a chance to?
The telephone records?
Yes.
Yeah, we haven't looked.
Okay.
Do they want all of them in there?
I don't know. I'm just.
That's what we're asking. Which ones do you want to go to the jury? And then we want to look at just those.
Okay. Let's go ahead.
Talk about it at the break.
All right. Let's bring the jurors out.
Your Honor, just
Yes.
if I may.
Yes.
We still have open the psychotherapist privilege issue, whether or not there is extant a holder to claim the privilege.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Ms. Clarkson's not in the courtroom right now, and the bottom line, it's going to take some time unless you want to talk to her and see if you can arrive at a stipulation.
Her counsel's not here, so I
Okay.
didn't feel comfortable.
No,
He is here. She is available.
She's sitting right outside.
Well, I think there may be somebody else. I'll find out.
All right.
I've been given another name. And just for the court scheduling purposes, I want to give you as much notice. We have one additional witness I've subpoenaed for 3 p.m. tomorrow afternoon, giving it my best guesses. That's the first time he's available. I didn't want to put it off any longer than that.
Does the prosecution know who the witness is?
Yes,
Okay.
One of the letter writers, right?
All right.
It's a very brief witness, 10 minutes under it.
Okay. So we'll set aside an hour. All right. Ready to go?
We are.
All right. Thank you.
All right. That'll take us into part 5 whenever I do that. I don't know if it'll be Thursday or not. We'll see. But that'll be 44 minutes. I think it goes, to part 4, excuse me. There is also a part 5. So we're not even done there with Baden. We're getting closer, man. This thing we're approaching the end. It's been a while since we started this trial. Thanks, everyone, for coming through tonight. I really appreciate it. We are about to go to the members-only portion of a Tuesday night, which is this right here, the book club. If you are not in the members-only portion of Publicly Buzzed with the Nation, you're going to miss this. You're going to miss this. This is me going over my notes of chapter 18 and 19 of The Stranger Beside Me, Ted Bundy book, written by Ann Rule. Ted Bundy's in jail. We're at the end of 1975, and things are getting more interesting, and Ann is trying to convince herself, or is she? I don't know. Ann really kind of confuses me with a lot of her writing. I feel like she, at the end of the day, really likes Ted Bundy. Even saying in the book, even if he was guilty, she would still be his friend because he would need somebody emotionally. Going into Bundy. Everyone that came through tonight, thank you all so freaking much. I appreciate it. Gypsy, thanks you. Appreciate that. You know what I'm talking about. But yeah, the next time you will see me will be Thursday if you don't come to members only. And then if anybody's not coming to members only, if you could do me a huge favor, go check out this video, give it a like, give it a watch, give it a comment. It's the new wrestling video. Boom. It's a crazy story from a guy named Tommy Rich about Andre the Giant and going out drinking with him in the early 80s in Atlanta, Georgia. Give that a check ski. Oh, Caleb, what's up? Good, you coming in right at the end. We're getting ready to jump over to a members-only portion of this show. Again, thank you all so much. Love you guys. Watch that video. Even I'll probably be plugging it over on the members-only also. But if you're not going over there, give that a watch. That'd help me out a little bit. Maybe get into the algorithm. But otherwise, love you guys. Let's go. Let's go to members-only. See you in a minute.